I'm about to go yabbying down there, and then I'm going to go off on an adventure and find something to do. Hey you! You're watching Robbie Fishing. Well folks, I've decided to come out here and go yabbying. I put some yabby nets in this creek a couple of years ago and done alright. Then I've got a couple of fishing rods in the car. I might head upstream into the mountains and see if I can find somewhere to catch a blackfish or a redfin, or maybe just find some animals to photograph or something. But anyway, I've walked over here thinking, I hope this is alright. I hope there's some yabbies in here. Oh, by the way, I'm using sausages for bait, but they're a bit frozen, but that's okay. Anyway, and I looked down and I found a yabby claw of a really big yabby. And I thought, you beauty, that's got to be a good sign. But then I remembered I filmed a yabby catch and cook here a couple of months ago. So it's probably the remnants from that. I threw most of the shells and stuff in the creek down there. Hopefully that's fattened them up and there's heaps of big yabbies in here. And that looks really good in there. And I know that there's a nice deep spot just up here as well. Maybe I should just go fishing here. There's got to be something living in that water. It's very dark though. Anyway, I'll go and get my yabby nets. I'll bait them up. I've got two collapsible bait traps, so I'll throw them both in, and then I'm going to go off on an adventure somewhere. Right, I made it down. It's actually quite hard getting down here. The first net baited up with a bit of chopped up frozen sausage. Can just go down here under this bank. Is there a ledge there? Yeah, it looks good. I'd like to put this second one around the corner there. I just got to hope that I can get there without falling in the creek. It's going to be fun coming and checking these nets tonight when it gets dark. Easy. Right, well, the creek's still flowing. It's actually flowing more than I thought it would be, given it's been so hot and dry. But this second net can just go in front of this little bit of a ledge here. Oh, that's sitting on something. Either that or it's just not very deep here. Let's throw it out a bit further and see what happens. Ah, that's better. It's gone a lot further down. Must be maybe one of these big rocks or something out there. Well, both nets are in. It's currently 39 degrees. It's stifling hot. I'm going to go for a drive and see if I can find an adventure. See if I can find somewhere. I've got my fishing rods in the car. I've got some worms. I've got some lures. I've got all my camera gear. I'll go and see if I can find something to catch or photograph. Well, I've made my way to my next adventure. Well, I'm going to wander down there and fish with worms and see if I can catch a blackfish on sunset. It's just after 7 o'clock now, so I've got a bit over an hour to fish. I was going to lower my underwater camera from up here, but I don't think the cord is long enough and it's just a bit too unsafe to climb down there. So I've got my underwater camera with me. I've just got to find somewhere to put it, and I'll put that in, and then I'm going to sit down there with some worms and see if I can catch a blackfish. I don't know if the cord's going to be long enough to reach from here, but I'm going to try and drop this in from way up here. I'll hit record. That's now recording and spinning around. Ow, rope burn. Here we go, here we go, here we go. I reckon that's going to be good. Just deep. Awesome, that fits, that works, just. Wish I had a rock to put on top of that though, because if that falls in, I've got to swim in there after dark and get it out. There's no wind, it should be pretty right. Right, I've got two little split shot, a bunch of worms. I'd like to throw that out in front of my camera, but I don't know how well I'll go. I'll try it. That should be in front of the camera, or near there somewhere anyway, I reckon. Let's see how that goes. Right, I've got a stick there. I've got my line leaning up on a stick. I'm going to put my, put some water in my water bucket, so that if I do catch a blackfish, I can just wet my hands and look after the fish a bit. Just had a big bite. I was looking at my phone. Actually, I've got no phone service here. I just grabbed my phone and got it ready to take photos if I caught a fish, and then I had a look around and got a big bite. Just had a bite. There he goes, there he goes, there he goes. He's biting it. this thing. Got him. Just very small. It's a small little blackfish. This is why I've got my bucket of water here, so that I can wet my hands. I might get a photo of him actually. Blackfish number 1. See you later, mate. They are the hardest fish of the lot to photograph because they just bend and curl up and they just don't like to have their photo taken. Right, I might tie a fresh worm on. Got the old jam jack worms here. I love my blackfish fishing. I've been watching a friend of mine, Les Baxter. He's fishing in the coastal flowing streams, and the blackfish he's catching have been huge. Well, huge compared to what I'm used to anyway. He got one the other day, I think it was 40 centimetres or something, which is something I've never seen. I know they get bigger than that down there, but it was still a nice fish. When you're used to catching these northern blackfish from the northern side of the Great Dividing Range, a 40 centimetre blackfish is enormous. I can see the line floating on the water there. I've just started pulling forward. So there it goes again. Something's nibbling at it. See it pulling forward? Something's taken up the slack and got him. Might be a little bit bigger, this one. Yeah. Lovely blackfish. Alright, blackfish number 2. See you later, mate. Oh yeah, the fish are getting bigger. That was a nice blackfish. Have I still got any worm left, or do I need another new one? I'll be able to just re-thread that one on, I reckon. I'll leave the same worm on, and I'll put it straight back out where it was, just in front of that rock over there. It was a little bit further than that, but that'll do for now. I'll let it sink. I can see the line moving out as it sinks. Now the line's just stopped moving out. Next time it moves out, that'll be because something's picked up the worm. There he goes, he's got it. Got him. It was a nice one, this one. Right, where's my camera? I'll leave him in the creek there. The biggest one yet. Blackfish number 3. See you later, mate. That'd almost be a legal blackfish. The minimum legal size is 30 centimetres, and I reckon that fish would be giving 30 centimetres a nudge. Awesome. Oh yeah, the fish is still getting bigger. That should be right in front of my camera, that one. Let's see if that can get a bite now that it's getting a bit later. Well, so far, all of my fish have been caught from behind the camera. The camera is literally straight down from that rock. I don't know whether the camera's picking it up, but I can see the cord there quite clearly. And it's pointing that way, but most of the fish are coming out from behind there, under the cover of that rock. So I don't know how well this underwater footage is going to go. I'm expecting not too well. Well, there's a bite. It's in front of the camera there now. Come on. I'd love to catch one in front of the camera. I've done it with a redfin. Got him. Not as big as the last one. I've caught a redfin in front of my camera, but never anything else. Look at the markings on that fish. Beautiful. Nice blackfish. You can hear his tail flapping through the air. How much worm have I got left? Now you might be thinking, that's not a blackfish, that's a greasy. Oh, that's a slippery. They're the same thing. Their real name is blackfish. But their real name is Godopsis marmoratus. But who on earth, apart from scientists or nerds, is going to remember that word? These ones might even be Godopsis bispinosus, which is a two-spine blackfish, I reckon. But anyway, a blackfish and a greasy, they're the same thing. Blackfish, greasy, slimy, slippery. I don't know, you might even call them an oily. Who knows? Soapy. Folks, disaster has struck. I've caught my bloody camera. How did I know that was going to happen? Can I bring the camera in? Oh, I hope so, because just pulled the float off the rock. Oh, come on. Putting a bend in the old rod here. Come on, bring the camera in. Bring the camera in. Oh, you idiot! I knew that was going to bloody happen. Bugger it. I'm going to have to jump in and get it. Shoes and all before it gets too deep. Come back before it goes out there into the depths. Right, what I might just do is I'll stop that, and I might just lower it in here somewhere. I just had a quick look and it's still picking up like a little bit of light, so I might just put it there and just see if anything swims near it. Gotta be joking, now I've caught me shorts. First I caught me camera, now I've caught me shorts. Got it, beauty. Right, re-rigged and ready to go. People keep saying you should put your bait right in front of your camera and get footage of the fish grabbing the worms. I'm hoping that happened with that last blackfish that I caught, but whether or not it did is anyone's guess. But I've got to tell you, it's not as it's one of those things that's easier said than done. It's actually very hard. Maybe from a boat it might be a little bit easier. Well, I put my line in the blackfish hole and I caught my GoPro. It's a bite straight away. Got it. Oh, I done him. That wasn't a bad fish actually. I just threw my line back in. That's swimming something. Oh, sinking. I just put a fresh worm on and threw my line back in and got a nice bite straight away. Then I picked it up and struck. I felt weight, but then it was gone. I just picked up my bait and swimming with it and got him. Feels decent. Right. That is decent. That's a beautiful blackfish. You beauty. That is a lovely blackfish from the northern side of the Great Dividing Range. See you later, mate. Awesome. Well, I'm going to pack up now and I'm going to head back and check my yabby nets, just because I've got to carry a fair bit of stuff up that steep bank and I actually haven't got a head torch with me. I forgot to bring it. I have got one of my really bright O-lights in the car that I'll use to check my yabby nets, but I've got to carry it, so I want to get up here before it gets too late. It's probably a bit darker than the camera's making it look, to be honest. Well folks, I've made it back down to check my yabby nets and I kid you not, I'm back down on the lowlands. It's 10 PM and it's still 30 degrees. It's hotter here now than what it was up in the hills there a couple of hours ago. I wonder if I can get down there without breaking my neck. I'll try. I'm gonna fall. Aha. Grab me bucket. Well, the bugs are horrendous. I've turned my light down to try and slow them down a bit. I haven't got a headlamp, so there's something flicking around there. It sounds like shrimp. There's shrimp and yabbies. There's shrimp in here. A couple of little bait yabbies. No, don't go back in the water, you idiot. Ow! One of them's got me on the finger. Quick. Neither of them are very big, but I'll put them in there for now. I don't need the shrimp. I probably just tipped them all out anyway, I think. Ha! I was surprised by the shrimp. Right, I'll put that between my legs, between my knees. See a couple of freshwater shrimp. Dropped it. I forgot my headlamp. You can see there are a couple of freshwater shrimp. I'll put them back on the drink. There was actually more in there than them two, but I think I actually dropped the net back in the water and I think they got out. I'm going to leave these nets in and come and check them in the morning before it gets too hot. Right, net, I'll put you straight back where you were. Just out there under that steep bank. I'll come back and check that in the morning. Give it an overnight soak. Gotta put some water in this bucket for them yabbies too. Right, well, I've got 2 yabbies and a bunch of shrimp. I've got the torch turned off at the moment just to hope a few bugs fly away. There's so many bugs. Right, let's check this other net. What have I got? I can hear something in there. It feels a bit weighty. There's a few yabbies in there. I can see some yabbies in there. There's a few yabbies in there. They're sort of bait-sized ones though. I was hoping to get big ones. But I'll throw them in. Because I'll take them home and I'll put them in a... what I might just do is tip that out. Oh, I'll turn that off. Right, so I've caught 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He nearly got me. 7, 8, 9. It's a little bit bigger, that one, but not big enough to eat. Throw the shrimp back. Nothing else in there? Right. So I caught 9 yabbies and a few shrimp. Probably, I don't know. It's hard to say because I tipped most of them out in the first net. Probably half a dozen shrimp. And now I've got a tangle. Right, well this net here, the cord is tangled up in the zip. That's okay, it'll work. But I'll fix it tomorrow. It's in shallow water there. Must be a steep ledge out there, I reckon. I'll throw it out a bit further, way up there. That's better. I'll untangle it tomorrow when I can use the light from the sun rather than the torch. And it might just mean less bugs. Right, well I've caught a few yabbies there. I've got a few for bait. I was hoping for some bigger ones, but I'll use them ones for bait. Well, my knife's in there. Whoops, that's the knife that I used to cut up the sausages earlier. I'll take those yabbies home. Some of them will go on the hook whole, and some of them I'll just put their tail on the hook. But as we sort of head towards late summer and early autumn, I'll be chasing more redfin over the next few weeks, and I'll be heading to places like Lake Buffalo and Lake William Hovell in the Waranga Basin, and those yabbies will come in very handy. Anyway, I'm going to leave these nets in now, and then come back and check them tomorrow morning, before it gets too hot. While we're waiting for these nets to soak overnight, let's have a look at some of the underwater footage. Well, we got a good camera angle. If you look closely, you can actually see the surface of the water flickering above. That's where the fresh water is running in and creating a few ripples. We've got a nice clear view of the bottom. This could be interesting. Well, the camera had only been in for about a minute or so. The debris had only just finished clearing, and here's our first visitor. Actually, I think we might be the visitor. Can you see the yabby at the bottom of the screen? I think the camera might have almost landed on its head. Now, I'm going to be honest, there's a few yabbies that turn up throughout this video. I'm not sure whether they're yabbies or crayfish. Based on their location and the fact that the water's still quite cool, I'd assume they're crayfish. But they haven't got those white claws that crayfish tend to have, so I'm going to run with yabbies. Now you'll hear my sinker hit the water. I'm not sure exactly where it is, but you can certainly hear it. That background noise that you can hear is the little waterfall, or the water trickling into the pool above the camera, and that's there throughout the entire video. Oh wait, there's my worms. I can see my worms. They must have been just in my camera. You can the worms are just off to the right hand side of the screen. A few minutes later, you can see just on the left-hand side of the screen a black thing moving in. That's another yabby in the background. Oh wait, what's that? That's a blackfish, look. A blackfish just came and had a little nibble of my worms, a little blackfish. In that 5 minutes that I cut out, I'd actually dragged the worms in front of the camera a little bit, but you can see I'm getting a bite. I'm getting a nibble from a tiny little blackfish. He keeps nibbling it and then just darting away. The yabby in the background's coming closer. That small little blackfish is still there. I've just jumped forward a few minutes and you can see there's a couple of blackfish just swimming around the worms on the bottom right hand corner of the frame. There go the worms. Did you see the worms just scoot off? I must have been getting a nibble, so I've struck. Listen to the sinker hit the water. Plonk! Did you hear that? But look, there's a couple of blackfish now just swimming around where the worms were. They must be able to still smell the worms. There's 3 there. 4 there. And I put the worms back in the wrong spot. I should have put them back exactly where they were. I must have moved them over the back of the camera, away from the, just under the rock a bit further, I think. Isn't that fascinating, just watching the blackfish being blackfish? For a while there, those blackfish kept sort of disappearing off the screen and then they'd come back and you can just sort of see them moving around a bit now. There's another one. But in a moment, another fish comes in. Here it comes from the other side. It's a thicker bodied fish. It's a bit bigger. I reckon that might be a trout. Unfortunately, because of the low light, and there it goes, it's swimming away. Because of the low light, it's hard to get a really good look. It's just sort of silhouetted. But I reckon that might have been a small trout. Now I'm cutting this video right down here because otherwise it'll be too long because there's literally things in front of the camera the whole time. But have a look at this. You'll see a yabby walking in from the right hand side. He's a bit too big for the blackfish to eat, but they go and suss him out. Look, they have a bit of a smell of him and he turns around and looks a bit defensive, but they're getting along okay. There's so much going on down there. But there's just blackfish like you can see here, just swimming around in front of the camera for most of the evening pretty much. Now you'll see a much larger blackfish swimming at the bottom of the screen. He must have been swimming directly under the camera, I reckon. I've skipped forward a bit here. You can just see that blackfish there swimming around. In a moment, a yabby will move in from the right hand side. He's quite a bit bigger than the other ones. I still think it's a yabby though and not a crayfish. Now for anybody interested, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share this unedited video. So I'm editing this, I'm cutting lots of things out. I'm going to share an unedited version on my backup channel. I've got another channel called Robbie Fishing Extra Videos, and I'm just going to put this on that channel unedited so that you can see everything, because some people would like to just sit back and watch this. It'll be like having a half-hour fish tank on your TV screen. I might speed this next scene up for a little bit just to see the yabby move a bit faster. Now watch what happens here. I cast my line in, just listen quietly, you'll hear the sinker hit the water. Kaplonk. Now look at the top of the screen. Wait for it, sinking. Any second now. Here it comes. There's the split shot, there's the worms, right in front of the camera. There's a blackfish. 2 blackfish swam straight over to the worms, and I mustn't have been happy with the cast, so I've pulled it out and cast it somewhere else. If I'd left it there, I might have got a bite straight away. Ha! You probably hear it hit the water again now. Kaplonk. That was in the new spot. I'm not sure where it landed that time. I wonder how often I do that. Cast my line in and think, nah, I'll move it and pull my my worm straight out of the face of a fish. Have a look at this next fish. I reckon I almost caught this fish on camera. Here he comes. He's got his head down. You can just tell he's eating something by the way his tail's moving around and his head's down. And then he just disappears. I reckon I was about 20 degrees to the right, too far, off catching that blackfish taking my worm. What on earth was that? It looked like a lure. I reckon it might have been one of the fish that I threw back. I threw one back that was flapping its tail violently, and I reckon that might have been that fish. Upon watching it in slow motion, it appears to be shaking its head. I actually think that this is me catching that fish. I think that's me reeling that fish in. I must have hooked it just up to the right-hand side of the camera. I must have thought I'd landed the bait in front of the camera, but been a little bit further off to the right. Now this is where things go a bit pear-shaped. You'll hear my sinker land on the water. So the sinker's just hit the water. But I remember clearly it didn't sink very far. So in a moment, you'll hear me start pulling it a little bit to work out what happened. This is where I caught the camera. Well, it's the morning after. They've been in all night, these nets. Now, my challenge is to get down here without getting a dirty backside on this dirt, because when I leave here, I'm going to the hospital to visit a friend, and I'd like to be at least marginally presentable. I'm going to have to sit on the dirt. Well, wearing sandals wasn't the greatest choice climbing down that steep hill. Anyway. How did the overnight soak go? Oh wow, listen to all them yabbies. There's so many in there. One of them's dead by the looks of it. He's been eaten, I think. Look, I know he's still alive. There's a heap of them there. They're all medium size though, none of them are big. But they're okay, I can use them for bait, even if it means just using their tails. Well, I caught 9 last night, so let's start from 9.
10, 11, 12, 13. Just saw a shrimp out the door, it landed. Shrimp. 14.
15. Look at these big shrimp. They're big shrimp. These are big shrimp. They're very decent. They're excellent fishing bait. Perfect size. Am I up to 14 or 15 with these yabbies? I've lost count. I think 15. 16, maybe 15.
17, 18, 19, 20.
21. Oh, you idiot. I just realised something. 22. 23. 24. Make sure there's no yabbies or shrimp still in there. Put the rest of my sausage back in the creek. 24 yabbies. But the reason I called myself an idiot, the whole idea of this bucket is to put the yabbies in there so that I can lift that out, then see how, then get my yabbies. I put them straight in the water. Not the sharpest tool in the shed. Lots of bait, plenty of bait. Righto, can I add a few yabbies to the tally? What am I up to? Was it 20 I think? 9 last night and 11 now? Is it 20? I've lost count. I'm going to say 20, I think it's about 20. Righto. I can hear flicking. Not as many as the other net, but there's a few in there. There's a few shrimp. Looks like I've got 4 or 5 yabbies and a few shrimp. Right. Did I say 20? What? Oh, I threw that back in the water, you goose. 22, even though I threw them back in. 23, 24, 25. And a couple more shrimpies. Not as big as the last ones, but still not bad shrimp. Right, so I've kept 24 yabbies. I caught 25, but I flicked one back before it inflicted any pain on me. In case you're wondering why I didn't keep the shrimp are excellent bait. They're a better bait than yabbies, but they're very hard to keep alive. Those yabbies will live for a month in that little bit of water in there. Shrimp won't. They'll live for about an hour, then they'll die. They need fresh oxygen in the water. There's oxygen in this water. These ripples create oxygen, and that's what helps keep the shrimp alive. But once you put them in the bucket, as soon as the oxygen level drops out, the shrimp die. So they're very hard to keep alive. It's easier to throw them back and just catch them when you need them. Unlike yabbies like these ones, which I can put in a foam box at home and keep them on storage. Well, I've got a couple of dozen bait-sized yabbies. I caught a few magnificent blackfish last night. I've had an awesome time filming this video. I hope you've enjoyed watching it. Thank you all very much for watching.